Okay, good morning. Good morning. I'd like to welcome everyone to the ARBC board meeting here today on July 9th, 10 o'clock in Ascension Parish Council Chambers. Can we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? And President Dufresne, can you lead us in the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Ms. Tony, can we get a roll call?
Mr. Bailey is absent. Mr. Byrd? Absent. Mr. Clark?
Here.
Mr. Quintmall? Here. Ms. O'Neill? Here. Mr. Dufresne? Here. Ms. Ferlito? Here. Mr. Harrell? Here. Mr. Harris? Here. Mr. O'Neill? Absent. Mr. Parker? Here. Mr. Rayford? Absent. All right, we have a quorum. Thank you.
Okay. If we have any public comments, please submit them and register. There'll be opportunities after each item on our agenda, but also any general comments in regards to the ARBC, certainly heard after we complete our agenda. So are there any public comments? Okay. Next item is approval of our minutes. Commissioners, you've had a chance to review the minutes. I'll get a motion by Commissioner Parker to approve the minutes as written. Second. Seconded by Commissioner Harris. All in favor? Any opposition? Okay, motion passes, minutes approved. Next item is approval of our financial statements ending June 30th, 2024. Everybody take a look at that. I've reviewed our financial statements. Any public comments? Any public comments on our financial statements? Okay, no comments. I have a motion to approve by Commissioner Quintmall and seconded by Commissioner Parker. Any opposition? Motion passes. Next item is report by the ARBC president. I would just like to say that, remind everybody how special it is for the ARBC to be created as it is, organized with the parishes sitting together here speaking as one, but it also independently, obviously, is right to voice your own opinion and for your parish. But the unique thing is we're looking at this as a big picture for the Amite River Basin. Unlike ever before, taking a regional approach, looking at things that can be done for the benefit of the entire Amite River Basin. And I have nothing more to say. So our next item is a report by our ARBC legal counsel, Mr. Larry Bankston.
Just a couple of things. As you are aware, we have entered into a contract with the Louisiana, the Water Institute for temporary services of engineering to assist as it relates to the efforts of our executive director. We have gotten confirmation yesterday that the contract was acceptable to Office of Community Development, and so just the board to be aware. The initial contract that we had has a limitation of $100,000 for that particular contract. In order that we comply with the quick action that we took of getting 3 bids, 3 requests verbal by way of communications, we can actually go up to a maximum of $250,000. So as the process continues, it will allow the board to have flexibility to add to that contract without having to go back for any additional approval in reference to that. The other issue that is left is the RFQ or RFP for a permanent contract, or the decision by the board to go back out for a search for an executive director. So just leave that for the board's decision as to how they want to proceed. Do they want us to continue to work on the development of a RFP that would provide for a permanent engineering, outside engineering company, or the aspect as it relates to having efforts to find a contract with an individual who would serve as executive director? So those two issues are still out there. Also in your packet, there is information concerning the Comite Diversion Canal, and it is almost all of the real estate has been acquired. 85 of the 89 parcels. We had a Zoom meeting with all the parties on the 25th of June. They're still doing some relocations of utilities. The bridge at 964 is 77% complete. The bridge at 67 is 70% complete. And Highway 19 construction contract, they're having to redesign part of it. Also, Mr. Marino, who is attorney for CPRA as well as Department of Transportation Development, I'd ask him to kind of give a brief. As everyone knows, the major continuing problem with the project has been the natural gas company, Florida Gas, and the relocations. And maybe he could give us a brief update as to what's transpired in reference to that.
Sure, and the main relocation, obviously, the mile and a half or so, the big drill, they call it, they did get their cost estimate in. They had to redo that, or did redo that. Came in about $25 million, well under the FERC cap for a lot more work, so it was very good news. It was turned around by the Corps of Engineers and DOTD in a day and approved. So the next step now, and that's about 2 weeks ago, and so the next step is for Florida Gas to reapply to FERC for their approval. We do not have information on where they are on that, but we would expect that any day, if it hasn't already been filed, to be filed. That's what I've got.
Thank you. Which is actually very good news, because that has been the major impediment of kind of going forward in some of the work. Once the Florida Gas is relocated and it's closer to Highway 61, then it means that certain aspects of the canal can actually become functional. And as they become functional, they're actually turned over to potentially to East Baton Rouge Parish. So for operations and maintenance. We have been in discussions with some of the consultants that we've hired in reference to the master plan to examine whether or not some of the property that would be in excess of the right-of-way itself could potentially be used for a mitigation bank or for some other use. East Baton Rouge Parish has indicated that they only want to acquire that portion of the right-of-way itself and nothing more. So that is That's my report in reference to those two particular issues.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Bankston. Anyone have any questions in regards to our legal report, Amite River Diversion Project? It's good news. It sounds like it's moving along. If we can just work with Florida Gas and get something moving forward in that regard. Okay, our next item on the agenda is under old business, and it's a report from the ARBC Project Committee. And one of the items under that is we have a resolution to vote on it and pass. I think the resolution's in our packet.
Yeah, it's the first thing under old business. Yeah.
Okay. You want to read the resolution? Sure. Mr. Bankston, can you read the resolution for us where we know exactly what we're talking about here and the visiting public is aware?
This is Resolution 1180. It's resolved to submit the following list of projects for Ascension Parish: the New River Storm Water Management Pump Station with a total project budget of $57 million with LWI budget request of $40 million. Next item is Livingston, the Amite River Sediment Removal project budget of $25 million with LWI budget request of $20 million. In St. James, the West Shore Interconnect Levy Phase 2 of $54 million with a $10 million request to LWI, which is the Louisiana Watershed Initiative. And for Iberville, East Baton Rouge and Ascension, the Bayou Manchac Restoration and Wards Creek Alignment, $30 million with a request of $30 million from LWI. And whereas the Amite River Basin Drainage and Water Conservation District was established pursuant to RS 38:3301 and is comprised of the geographic area within the watershed. And whereas the management and control of the district shall be vested in a board of commissioners, and whereas the board shall be vested with certain authority over public drainage. Whereas House Resolution 181 of the 2022 session urged and requests the Office of Community Development to create an independent watershed region for Amite River Basin. And whereas on October 24th, the Council for Watershed Management designated Amite River Basin as Watershed Region 9. And whereas Amite River Drainage and Conservation District Board was designated as the steering committee for Region 9. Whereas flooding mitigation projects are to be submitted to the Louisiana Watershed Initiative for potential funding. Now be it resolved that the Board of Commissioners for the Amite River Basin Drainage and Conservation District in regular session assembled on behalf of Region 9 to submit said list to the Office of Community Development Watershed Initiative Program.
Okay, that's our resolution. Any comments? Yes, Ms. Gorman.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. In reference to the resolution, there were members of you, Chairman Clark, Jack Harris, and Chairman Quintma, who presented to the Pontchartrain Levee District Board of Commissioners and sharing the Bayou Manchac Restoration Project in May of 2024. Our number one goal is to keep the project moving without delay while we forge a path moving forward together. PLD has been in discussions with the Amite River Basin Commission Legal Counsel concerning an MOU as offered and requested. I apologize for missing last month's meeting. I was out of town. I would like to let the rest of the board know that when it was presented to Pontchartrain Levy District by those board members, the ARBC had a desire to utilize, this is from PLD's board minutes, that ARBC desires to utilize $100 million that they have from LWI to include the Bayou Manchac Regional, specifically $40 million of said funds for their proposed downstream scope, Wards Creek realignment and Bayou Manchac channelization from Perkins Road to Amite River. Of the $100 million ARBC has from the LWI, it is broken down as follows: $40 million to the Bayou Manchac Regional Project, $30 million to the Lower Amite River Dredging Project, $10 million to St. James and one of their projects, and the remaining funds dedicated to Ascension Parish New River Pump Station. Details as to what has been submitted to LWI, the engineering efforts, and/or any other details of the proposed ARBC projects was not provided and/or referenced or detailed with specific information. Parish President Quintma concluded to remind the Pontchartrain Levy District Board that if they were not willing to share the project, that the Amite River Basin Commission would take the $40 million and apply it somewhere else in their jurisdiction. After much discussion, it was determined that the Pontchartrain Levy District would take this request under advisement, review same with our consultant, coordinate more dialogue between the Amite River Basin Commission and Pontchartrain Levy District within the next 90 days with a reasonable path forward in the best interest of PLD taxpayers and time. No motions were made, and members of the Amite River Basin Commission left the committee meeting. I think it's really important to remember, that we are all working together. These numbers have changed somewhat. I'm assuming that as per the statute, I have a committee meeting this evening, so these are 3 out of 4 projects in Pontchartrain Levy District jurisdiction as well. So I'm assuming that these projects, West Shore is a no-brainer. That one PLD is actually participating in with St. James Parish on that one. So I don't see a problem with that one. I don't see a problem with the pump station itself. Just the numbers have changed, certainly. I'll inform my board of that. But I would really recommend that the Amite River Basin Commission and PLD have another meeting after what was presented to PLD on May the 16th. I also ask that the other non-voting members, a representative from CPRA and a representative from DOTD, be a part of that meeting because I think that other board members need to be aware of the entirety of the discussions. I think PLD has some other alternatives and ideas about some of that I think we can certainly work together on. And I would think if we continue in that direction, then we can, as much dialogue as our attorney has had with, ARBC's Council Bankston, I think we can put something on paper for both boards to consider at their August board meetings.
Okay, thank you. Any comments?
Yeah, I'll comment on that.
Commissioner Harris, yes.
Okay. Well, we're on the same page that we definitely want to move forward with the project. And like we said, we met back in May, I believe, with no resolution. But there's 2 ways to look at this. We're actually Region 9. Region 9 was awarded the $100 million. ARBC is the steering committee for that. And if we want to split hairs on who you can stop from moving on the project.
We're not looking to do that, sir.
So we're wanting to move forward. We met with OCD. They're wanting to move forward. They're wanting to get something going. They made it very clear. And as we're lined out here, it's not ARBC is the project managers on this. It's the parishes who, as President Clark pointed out, now we have all the parishes together working in a common goal to solve the problems of the basin. So each parish this is their priority, and as a group, there's much more to come, but we need to go ahead and get moving. It's been 2 months since we met, and nothing's happened. we need to go ahead and get the applications, and we went over with OCD. They made it very clear. They spelled out every detail. They even said, look, we're gonna streamline this for you. We're gonna do away with the pre-application. We want something in here now. We wanna get moving with this. So what this resolution is here's how we can go ahead and start moving forward. We need to, as a group, decide, yep, these are our projects, and here's the leads that are gonna be on them. And if there's some details that we need to work out with PLD or any other agency, we can work those out, but we need to go ahead. What this resolution does is that the steering committee of the Region 9 is saying, yep, these are our projects, and this is how we're gonna spend the $100 million.
I'm not saying not to move forward with the resolution. I apologize if that's how you took it. No, I just wanted others to be aware of what the motion was at the meeting in May, was the 90 days. I don't think that the board was aware that, that there was a decision made by PLD Board of Commissioners. That was the first time they had ever seen that presentation. And there wasn't any information that's been provided since then other than the map that said this is what we wanted to do. I am not holding up the resolution whatsoever. We would like to work with Amite River Basin, make sure you have all the information that you need. I just think there needs to be another meeting.
I agree.
that's all.
Absolutely agree. And we
I'm
do
not
need to work
trying
together.
to-
Y'all already have some information that you've done on that we're hoping you're gonna share, and we had talked about that. So it is something that we would need to move forward on. But this resolution will let us go ahead and start getting the applications in place.
Look, I am fully aware. In June, I called OCD trying to get a meeting with them and ARBC. I was told that I was not the grantee, that was Region 9 was ARBC. ARBC would have to call the meeting, and then I was informed as of yesterday, y'all did have a meeting with them. So, yes, I understand the processes completely, and I just really wanted, like I said, I wasn't here in June. I wanted to make sure that everyone understood that we have been working together and do want to work together on this, and it is the #1 goal. It was the #1 project to this commission, the Bayou Manchac project, as well as all these others, so it was just strictly a comment, that's all.
No, and that's great, and we made it clear with OCD yesterday that we wanted to get back with y'all too, and I think they're gonna be reaching
did.
out.
They reached out, yeah.
For us to get back together and everything, because we do wanna work together. We just want to go ahead and get things moving. So,
Understood.
I think we're on the same page.
Okay, any more comments? Commissioner Quintmo?
Yeah, and thank you for PLDs for their wanting to work together, and that's great. I think the issue is our timeline, and we have deadlines that are based on our CEA that are important to be met, or it puts us in a compromising situation. So whatever meetings we can have as soon as possible.
I agree.
Because those deadlines are critical, and they're coming up. And if we don't act, it's going to be at our own peril. And so, yes, include me in on the meetings, excited to do them, and looking forward to doing them. And hopefully we can get some resolutions to these. As far as the amounts, these amounts were done by this committee way back. And so I know it was 30 to 40 on the discussion when we were in PLD, but as when we met as the project committee, this is what we had originally discussed, and this is what our last meeting on the amounts were in agreement of. And that's how the amounts fell out. And so just kind of wanted to point that out as far as the amounts, and they never really changed from our agreement internally that we had when we actually met here in Ascension a long time ago, it seems. So that's as far as the amounts are concerned. That concludes my comment. Thank you.
Any public comments? I think an important point made here is that Region 9, which occupies the ARBC, represented by the Louisiana Watershed Initiative, Region 9 received the $100 million. So
promise of 100.
Yeah, well, the promise conditionally that we do these things, but the point is that the funds were to come to Region 9, that ARBC did not get the funds. ARBC is merely the steering committee for Region 9. Any other comments?
Motion.
Okay, can I get a motion to,
Make a motion, we pass this.
I got a motion by Commissioner Harrison, seconded by Commissioner Harrell. Do I need a roll call?
No. Any opposition?
Any opposition?
Hearing none.
Hearing none, motion passes, resolution passes. Next item is a report by the Water Institute.
Does this work? Can you all hear me?
Mr. Garvin Pittman.
All right. Hello,
All right, hold on.
Board. I'm Garvin Pittman. As you all know, the Water Institute entered into a professional services contract with the Amite River Basin Commission effective June 11th, 2024. Total cost not to exceed $100,000. It's the assumption of responsibilities in relation to Act 490 of the 2022 legislature, specifically providing the coordination, management, and oversight of the ARBC master plan. Also, assistance with duties and responsibilities related to the ARBC Office of Community Development Cooperative Endeavor Agreement for the Regional Capacity Building Grant for Region 9, and all other duties assigned by the ARBC Executive Committee and/or unanimous Board of Commissioners of the ARBC, and that's direct quotes from the contract. Figured I'd stop there to see if anybody had any questions on my particular scope. Okay. Oh. Okay. So what have I been doing for the last month since the last time we met? I spent a lot of time looking at your different funding sources, what the requirements are, what the limitations are, what the values are. Specifically, Act 490 of the 2022 legislature. To the two different OCD contracts that you're working under, the what we call 306 for the $100 million for large transformative projects, and the 358 and Amendment 1, which provides $800,000 for expanding technical capacity within the watershed. Also reviewed the CPRA IGA, which is, quote, for the purpose of helping ARBC initiate its annual and master plans and develop and promulgate regulations mandated by Act 490, and also House Bill 2 of the 2022 legislature. Some additional resources that I spent a lot of time reviewing were the minutes from recent meetings, resolutions from recent meetings, the ARBC annual plan, your priority project descriptions, the Louisiana Watershed Initiative Action Plan, and other materials, especially the Amendment 2, which created Region 9, and Amendment 3, which allocated $100 million to Region 9. And then a lot of materials sent by the Executive Secretary and the President. Excuse me. Also during that time, I made contact with OCD, specifically Gina Lathers, whom most of you met with yesterday, Michaela Connor, and also Bonnie Donaldson, who is the person we submit our request for payments and our quarterly reports. Incidentally, the first quarterly report went in yesterday afternoon and appears to have been accepted by them. Also, we set up a meeting between OCD and the project committee, which happened yesterday afternoon. Many of you were there. If anyone has questions about that meeting, please let me know. I attended a Louisiana Watershed Initiative monthly call, got to meet some of the other coordinators from other regions. And here's one for the future for y'all, fellows by the name of Chuck Berger and Josh Riggins from DEQ want to meet with the full commission to discuss gauges in Region 9. That's rain gauges, stage gauges, things like that. We have a meeting set up later this week, just the three of us, to discuss what that might entail and to see if that is worth your time. Also registered the Amite River Basin Commission in OCD's IGX system. This is a system where all the projects, specifically for the $100 million, will be entered into. You've all seen that already today. These are the proposed projects. We met with the ARBC Project Committee to determine the priority projects and communicated this information to OCD, which has been accepted essentially as the pre-application information. Also started working on the ARBC master plan. We had an introductory meeting with Dewberry, who is a contractor for the master plan. I reviewed Dewberry's scope of work and contract and reviewed their draft public engagement plan. Did have a couple of comments which have been submitted back to Dewberry at this point, which is who will post and monitor the social media. It looks as though Dewberry will be doing that. Still needs to identify stakeholders by name and establish meeting schedules. For those of folks who are going to be on the project committee, it's looking like we want to try to have meetings every other week for an hour or two. You will be receiving an email from me later this afternoon to try to start scheduling that. And we also working with Dewberry and subs to produce invoices that are compliant with their contract with us and with our contract with CPRA. And the President Clark has appointed a master plan committee. That is President Clark himself, Ryan Bird, Ms. Ferlito, Ed Knight, Brian Lazina, and myself. And I've spent a lot of time just trying to stay organized. You can see over here on the left hand of the screen a file system that I have. It's on a secure Teams site at the Water Institute, which I can share with anyone as a SharePoint site if that's what you wish. Up next, we'll be working with OCD and the parishes and the project committee to submit the project applications for the $100 million worth of projects and to set up regular meetings between Dewberry and the ARBC Master Plan Committee, among whatever else comes out of today. And thank you, and we'll take any questions that you may have. Yes, Ms. O'Neill. I'm sorry, do you call on her?
Any questions? Commissioner O'Neill.
The second bullet under Act 490, have we introduced any ideas for expanding technical capacity?
Okay, so what does the second bullet say?
Is that,
$800,000 for expanding technical capacity within the LWI Region 9?
Okay.
I specifically haven't done anything to that. I'm still trying to wrap my head around what that really means.
That's our operating fund for
Right.
Region 9.
So each,
Okay, Attorney Bankston.
each of the regions received money for the purpose of developing plans, activities, and this is the $800,000. We didn't get that till very late on, but all these other regions were getting money, and that was the money that's referred to as the $800,000. So what Mr. Pittman's involvement is starting that process, and we've actually gotten some reimbursement already back in reference to that activity, but that's the overall view of that.
Okay, so I can recall. So the 800,000 is for our regional capacity building grant. That's provided by the Watershed Initiative to help the individual regions provide watershed coordination activities. So what Garvin is doing is part of his contract with the ARBC is watershed coordinator activities and oversight management of our master plan.
Will some of that be including training for some of our local community officials?
We'd have to look at the specific grant and what is eligible or not, and if it is, how that would be administered. But it's primarily in-house work by the ARBC as they move the Region 9 forward to help coordinate Region 9. And that's why we have Garvin on contract to help us coordinate Region 9. Before Garvin, we were having to do it ourselves primarily. So now we can use this funding to do that, and that pays for that. If we have eligible tasks that we're doing and would submit it properly. It's a lot of red tape, or a lot of paperwork, but he seems to have cracked the nut and making it happen. So he did say we submitted one quarter, we actually submitted two. He submitted one, but we had one before that. And I think we were able to recover like $116,000.
That's correct.
Yeah, Commissioner Harris.
You can think of this as our operating budget for Region 9. Every region has, most regions go and hire a coordinator, and that's what we've done here. Up until now, we were our own coordinator, and they got that for free, or we did, because John was doing most of it. But this is our operating budget, and that's what Garvin's getting paid out of, and any of our expenses for work that we do as Region 9 comes out of this $800,000.
So there may possibly be some leftover money to provide training for local community officials.
We're not right now, we're not looking at that.
We'll take a look at the grant and what's eligible and not, what we can do. Absolutely, Ms. O'Neill.
Thank you.
Any more comments? Commissioner Quintmore.
So, yeah. Garvin, I just want to thank you for your communication with the entire board and individual members. It's easy for someone to do their job adequately, and we all not say anything. But I do want to tell you I appreciate the communication and your getting up to speed on where we are and helping us move forward. So thank you.
Thank you.
Any more comments? Any public comments? Thank you, Garvin.
Thank you.
Next item is a report presentation by Dewberry. Dewberry is working on our master plan, and yes, welcome.
Hi, hello. I'm Jerry Daniels, subbing in for Sam Crampton, who is out of the country today, to give the update. I might have some supportive help from a couple of our team members as well. We'll try to get through this as quickly as possible. So thank you for having me today. I appreciate the opportunity to be here. I broke down the presentation in order of task for our scope, so you could follow along and see how we're starting. Task 1 is just us being here, so we'll start at task 2. So for data collection, we have received some of the models from PLD, which we appreciate. We are taking those and converting them. We are working on fulfilling a data request on the sediment study that they did post-flood in August 2016 from the Water Institute. My understanding is that's in process. It's just a matter of them gathering the data and getting that back to us. We previously have collected some of the other data that we reported on last month. I won't belabor that, but we also are continuing calls and direct contact with some communities to look at ordinances, looking at the CRS component, which I know that's near and dear to Cindy's heart and mine as well. And also codes and ordinances with our sub-HNTB working on that. So lots of data collection, lots of the progress that we've been making are on the first couple of tasks in our contract. So for survey collection, I'm gonna have Brad come up and talk about that.
Good morning, Commissioners. Brad Holloman with Fort Noblata, licensed land surveyor on the project. Just gonna give a very brief overview of some of the survey and data collection efforts that have been going on. The first scope item was to do historic research to try to find cross-sections that we could rerun under modern standards to do a comparative analysis. While taking those cross-section samples, we're also taking sediment samples in 3 locations in each cross-section and having those analyzed by a geotechnical engineer. So we've identified 30 cross-sections, and we're actively well underway in running those cross-sections in their historic locations. We are also well underway with doing a multi-beam hydrographic survey of the Weir area. This is some preliminary results. We just had it processed yesterday, and kind of the top left-hand corner is the area in which we're going to be performing the multi-beam hydrographic survey. The multi-beam hydrographic survey, you can think of that as just a 3D image of the bottom of the river and the diversion canal. Unfortunately, at the time of our original deployment, we did not have the river stage to be able to conduct the multi-beam over the weir, so we're going to be in a second deployment, which was intended, is supplementing the data on the top of the weir. Kind of doing a fly-through of the data here. It really helps to analyze where scour exists, where different sediment is built up, and then also different underwater obstructions. This is an example of kind of a scoured out area that we were able to identify, along with some other underwater obstructions with those spikes and peaks. Another interesting fact was we actually found a 32-foot sunken vessel that was in the, I believe, on the southwest side of the weir. And with the data collection methodology that we're using, we're able to kind of get that clear picture. So on the right side of the screen, you can see the cross-sectional view or the silhouette of this vessel that is actually underwater. So I'll open it up to any questions.
Any questions? Commissioner Quintmore.
So if I'm looking at those elevations correctly, in those scour areas, it's close to negative 50 feet, is that correct?
That is not. So we're still in the preliminary processes now. We are in the depth stages, not the post-processed all the way to elevation stages. So the next step that we collected the data, a lot of this information was just generated out of depths. And then our next post-processing that is happening today is correlating those with the elevations from the IMUs, rather.
All right, so these negative numbers have not been computed yet? Okay,
That's
thanks.
Thanks, Brad.
Any more questions?
I have a few more slides to finish the update, but any other questions for Brad, I guess? So the first time we surveyed this river in 2019, 2020, we found a BMW, so we've upgraded to a yacht now. So just, we'll see what happens next. So outreach and engagement is a portion of the project that I'm heavily involved in with HEPB. And so I wanted to go over an update and a few things with you guys. So we submitted the draft engagement plan, which was very high level. Admittedly, we wanted to make sure we were starting in the right direction, make sure you guys were good with our strategic approach in terms of numbers of public meetings and that sort of thing. We just got some comments as recently as yesterday, so we'll be finalizing that and turning that back around to you guys. We're really glad to hear about the committee formation and also the working meetings that Garvin mentioned with us to really push the schedule on a more rapid pace. I was very concerned coming in today about staying on schedule with our timeline in terms of collateral and approvals and things like that. So we're very excited to be part of that and get things moving forward. I have one of the comments Garvin had that he presented earlier was about specifics on stakeholders. I have an entire spreadsheet in my inbox that's ready to send over to you guys for review and approval. I got clarification today on exactly whom to send that to. So we just, like I said, had some questions about the reviewers and approvers. So we have that underway, so you'll be seeing a lot more. One of the things I wanted to talk about today, and if you don't want to make a decision today, that's fine, we can send it out via email, was the way we were going to group our meetings. So just a quick recap, in our scope, in our contract, it is to have 2 rounds of public meetings, 3 meetings in each round. So we're going to combine the parishes and the communities into 3 groups and have one very soon. We're hoping to have a round of public meetings in August to sort of say, here we are, this is what we're doing, we want some input from the public on the master plan, then another one at the end to roll out the master plan. So what I would like to do is show you these maps that we've created to kind of get your input on how to group the parishes together in those 3 meetings. So again, we'll have 2 rounds of meetings, and if you guys don't like either one of these options, we can take another approach on it. And in any grouping, we would find a central location within the region to have the public meeting in. You know, we wouldn't expect people from East Feliciana to drive all the way down to the southern part of East Baton Rouge Parish. You know, we would find a good central location that's ADA compliant and all of the things to have the public meetings. So if you guys want to decide today and tell me which one you prefer, that's great. If not, again, I can email these out to the committee and we can have a discussion at the working meeting. That's totally fine. But these are just some of the things we've been working on behind the scenes to get ready. any thoughts, or do you want to decide later, or?
Okay, so, you'll take a look at this. I mean, we can obviously make a decision. Looks like the slide on the right, that region, I guess is called the Eastern Region. That may be big. Any thoughts, anyone?
It's too large?
Yep.
So maybe we could include Port Vincent in the southern region? Is
Maybe.
that what you're thinking?
Just leaning more towards the one on the left, if that's
Okay.
the options it seems
Yeah.
to be.
We can come up with another option as well if you hate both of these. We're totally open.
Yeah, we think that's good.
Okay.
Because, that's kind of the way the basin reacts, and the people that live there are
Interact with each other,
different
yes.
with each region, yep.
Yeah,
Upper, middle, and lower.
yeah. Okay, all right, very good. And I know also we're having some one-on-one meetings with parishes as well, but in terms of public meetings, this is what we're thinking for public. So please don't think, oh, I'm only gonna get a meeting grouped with another parish. Like, we are also having one-on-ones with parishes as well,
So the meeting itself, what would be kind of a typical or suggested venue? Is it at the library, or
It
is
could
it
be.
vary?
Yeah, it could be a high school gymnasium, could be library, any kind of room large enough for capacity for people to come through, look at maps, talk to people one-on-one, that sort of thing. We haven't really outlined the format of that meeting yet, which we'll be definitely doing with the committee and working with you guys on. So minimum, I would say definitely a couple 100-person capacity would be the smallest type of venue that I would look for. So, it really kind of depends. For sure, definitely like for the western option, we definitely would want some large options, so. And I've had lots of public meetings in this region. I've been, longtime Livingston Parish resident and public outreach person, doing a lot of work on the FEMA side for a long time, so we kind of know what to look for.
Sure. Yep, Commissioner Harris.
Yes, sir.
Just to throw something out.
Sure.
As an alternative, if we split the central region with the Amite, then you'd have Livingston on one side. They wouldn't have to be coming to Baton Rouge, or Baton Rouge people going to Livingston, and that's sort of, they don't get along with each other anyway. So
They try.
No, I'm being facetious, of course. But that, I think just for the public meetings, we could get a better turnout, and, hey, we're talking about Livingston, and rather than them going to Baton Rouge, which they're
Right.
not worried about that, or vice versa.
Yeah.
If we would split that at the Amite and then leave the northern and the southern, they're pretty much in the same boat.
Well, I think that was the motivation for the map on the right, having that eastern region and the western region, where we would find a place like in Watson or something like that for a public meeting, or Denham, or Walker, having St. Helena included with Livingston. That way St. Helena's not having to come all the way down to I-12 to come to a meeting, try to be sensitive to that. I think that was the motivation for that map on the right side, was just what you're saying,
Well, we could go with a combination of the two and leave the northern region like you have on the left the way it is, and then split the central region to an eastern west.
Yeah, I'm definitely open to that. Our contract is 3 public meetings. We definitely can look at that revision. Yeah, so that's why we were trying to get 3 regions out of this, and, 2 rounds of 3 meetings, excuse me. So we can modify that. I'm totally open to modifying that if we need 4, a northern, a southern, and a EBR LP. Totally open to that.
That makes
Sam's
more
not here.
sense
I
now.
can say yes.
Now I see why you did the one on the right, and historically, the concerns about flooding
Are different.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, sir.
And you're
Yeah.
gonna get, from what we've seen in the past, more participation from the eastern, western region, and while there are some concerns up in St. Helena in the northern part, most of their water's headed down here anyway.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
I see, I didn't realize the limitation of 3 regions. That makes the one on the right make more sense.
Okay.
Mr. Bankston, you had a suggestion about perhaps outreach, and so to speak?
Question is, I know you're reaching out to the parishes, or you're reaching out to the cities and the
Yes, sir.
town, and the towns.
Yes, sir. Absolutely, yes, sir. Yes, parishes and all communities within, yes, sir. Yes. And we'll be advertising publicly, like these are public meetings. We really want a good turnout from the public to capture their concerns and comments. Yes, sir.
Any more comments? Commissioner Lenzina?
Just a comment from a group that holds a lot of public meetings, and this is for the commission to consider. I know you mentioned, 2 groups of 3, but as always, the best way to maximize attendance is to minimize travel on any of these things. I think for you guys to be able to outreach to the citizens is, if you put a lot of social media that's EBR heavy, you're not going to get those folks in other places. So regardless of the mechanism, I would suggest always, we'll see 30 miles. People aren't usually willing to go 30 miles, even if the conditions are the same. So that's just a comment. The best way to do that is to minimize travel for folks as much as we can, feasibly. I know it's logistically a lot, but we've found that time and time again. So.
Yes, sir. I agree.
Any more comments? Another comment, everybody talks about social media, and it is important, but it's not for everyone. There's nothing like the good old newspaper.
Yes, sir.
Sunday news, and it's not that hard. The Advocate, the Pelican, the Weekly, the Statesman, these, or the Watchman, that touches these areas. And not just an advertisement, but reach out to the news writer as an article for the ARBC master plan,
Yes, sir.
soliciting comments. And I think that, on this date, could reach some folks that you would not necessarily get on social media.
Yes, sir. I completely agree, and those are some of the tactics we plan to implement that I think we mentioned in the engagement plan, but didn't go into large detail. But absolutely, press releases on the meetings to written as well as electronic media, radio stations. I know Jay Grimes just retired, but I've worked with him on things in the past. And so we definitely want to send out press releases and advertise to all of those types of things. I know that ARBC had a large presence on social media, and from our experience in doing a lot of outreach when it comes to I'm going to do air quotes, government type meeting, a lot of people 35 and older, that's where they're getting their news, unfortunately, is from Facebook, true or not. That's where they're getting it and believing it. So I'm hopeful just from an advertisement standpoint, we can turn off comments, just keep it as an outgoing message to advertise our meetings and things like that. That way it's not building any consternation or a debate or anything like that. We're just sort of advertising what we're doing and controlling the narrative around the meetings for sure. Yeah.
You made a good point, outgoing messages, not necessarily soliciting
Not two-way.
comments.
Yeah.
That could get messy.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Okay.
Agree.
Commissioner O'Neill?
Is there any way we could consider changing it to 4 meetings? Like Mr. Harris suggested, cutting the central region into making it 2?
I think it's more of a budget deal. Is that correct, ma'am?
That's correct, yeah. So I'll get with Sam when he comes back. I'm sure we can work in another meeting. Because once you get the materials developed and all that, it's just a matter of time and attendance. The initial investment's already there. So obviously we'll have to look at the scope with our subs and that sort of thing. But I'm pretty sure we can accommodate, but obviously I can't commit because I'm not Sam. So we'll see.
Okay.
Thankful I'm not Sam.
Commissioner Ferlito?
Will the 4th affect, if you get it, would it affect the schedule? Because I know the schedule's super tight.
It shouldn't. We would try to do them all in a very close time period with each other, possibly within the same week, something like that. Just kind of go from one to the next, have them. We definitely would advise you and let you know if we felt like it did, because that is my number one concern on this, is staying on schedule. Yes.
Any more comments?
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, a few more things on the update. So I just want to remind you of our leads. We'll definitely make sure you know these folks and have that name in front of you if you represent these parishes and have an issue, concern, anything like that. I just wanted to reiterate that. These next updates are going to be super quick because the bulk of our work has been on outreach and survey. So ordinances and codes, our subs are collecting all of that information for all of the communities within the ARBC. I just saw a ton of data get posted by Melissa yesterday. Existing conditions assessments underway, collecting information on the projects, which you guys just spoke about the projects and won't belabor that point, looking at compiling a list and getting that data together and looking in those report sections for the overview, current conditions, and the flooding mechanisms, putting that history together. For task 6, again, looking at those proposed projects and concepts from the data collection. This is just getting started. So this was the same update as last time on mitigation baking, so I didn't have any new information on this. I apologize for that. And then task 8, governance, again, just starting that research process. Everybody's digging in to collect everything. We should have a bigger update next time. So update on the schedule. I want to give a quick LWI task order 4 update. As you guys know, those are the modeling inputs that we're going to be using for the project alternatives analysis and the design storms, which run everywhere from 5, 10, 15, 20 up. And so those AEP events are in here. We should have all of those updates done by mid-September and then have demonstration projects ready for you guys by early October. So we don't foresee any delays on the schedule from LWI and having that really great modeling data as inputs into this. And if you've ever heard me present on LWI, it is the best flood risk identification data that the citizens of Louisiana will have ever seen. So this is really great data to go in for this master plan for sure. So that's the schedule update there. And then for the next time, again, we hope to largely complete that community and agency data research, data collection that you saw that we were just getting started, looking at that project list. And then, of course, the stakeholder engagement, especially if we get going with the committee meetings with Garvin and the team, will be much further along than that. And also definitely have an answer for you before then on the groupings of the meetings and things like that. And I'll have a couple things emailed out to you guys this week for your review and approval. And that is all.
Anyone have any questions?
Oh, Brad's got one more thing.
Just a quick point of correction, I was mistaken, those are in fact elevations. I just confirmed with the team and not depths. So on the previous slides were elevations.
So that's 50 foot deep there?
Do we want to go back and look?
They are preliminary, haven't been final process, but navigation elevations.
Okay. So, okay.
Those depths sound pretty reasonable. From our original Amite, even the second run on Amite, we've seen depths like that, so.
Really, 50 feet deep.
Interesting. How it can be that deep in one spot and other spots almost rise up to the surface.
Well, 45 feet deep, because it starts at -5, and then it goes down to 50, so 45 feet deep.
Okay,
Still pretty
and-
deep. I'm splitting hairs at that point.
Impressive. Any more comments? Questions? Commissioner Quintmore.
So we're gonna have more of a overall detailed look at this?
Correct. So we're going to be stitching together the multi-beam hydrographic survey data. There are some areas in shallower water that we'll have to use single beam hydrographic survey data coupled with LiDAR data. We can stitch all of those data sets together, accounting for vertical datums and adjustments, and in that final process view, be able to get a both underwater and above water view of the area within those rates.
The extents, excuse me, the extents of the survey is from where to where?
It is, if we have the slide for the multi-beam data, in that top left-hand corner is the extent of the Weir survey, the red outlined in those areas. The cross-sections, the 30 cross-sections, there are going to be 10 in the upper reach, which we're considering the upper reach is north of 190. There will be 10 historically re-ran cross-sections and 20 south.
Okay, so we're gonna go on Amite River and then diversion as well from those to the mouth, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, I just wanna make sure we're getting all that necessary data. Okay, thanks.
And we were able to receive the core data. We contacted them, so from 2006, and then there were multiple data sets, so picking spots to rerun those.
Yeah, it's difficult for us to just kind of understand the underwater debris and, you know, just looking from it like that. I mean, this is obviously cool stuff, right? But I would be interested in looking at the complete layout, and I'm assuming we're gonna get some hard copy maps of that or something?
Correct.
So that we can look at the full elevations from 190 all the way down to the mouth?
That's the intent, is to overlay the modern-day cross-sections with historic cross-sections and accounting for any kind of vertical datum shifts to be able to determine true changes instead of just elevation datum changes.
So when you convert the historical data to the new data, are we gonna be able to tell any silting in the Amite River versus from when that was done to current?
That's the intent. We're going to be correcting, I hate to use the word correcting, but updating the data sets for vertical datums through both calculation and hard verification of road centerline shots are included.
Great, thank you.
Yes.
And one question for Brad, won't the data be provided itself, not just a paper map, but the actual data itself?
Correct,
Yeah.
correct. We will create a presentation style data set in cross-section views with an overall map to depict where those cross-sections are taken. But also all available data will be provided. And
You
it's,
should have that for your public works, et cetera, you should have the access to that data.
Yeah, just because it's one of our critical projects in our four, right, the lower Amite, identifying those underwater elevated dams or weirs, whatever we want to call them, is critical to how that project moves forward. So obviously, we're doing this data is picking up those critical points of where that exists and looking at silt buildup and having to be able to prove that in the future when we go into other projects like, you know, up north with the retention ponds or the gravel pits and trying to reduce some of that sediment coming down the river and filling in these areas. If we can prove that that has happened over time, will help justify future grants in order to do projects of that scope.
yes,
Thank you.
thank you.
Anything else?
Any more comments? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, nice update by Dewberry on our master plan. Seems like we're moving forward, and as you could see, that was very enlightening information about the channel of the Amite River. Moving on our agenda. Next item is Louisiana Region 9 Coordinator Updates Discussion. Garvin, did you, or did we already covered that, or you had something else? Okay.
Unless you have any questions, there's nothing else that wasn't in the previous.
Yeah. Okay. Good deal. Yeah, we covered that thoroughly earlier in the meeting. And so next item is our Comite River Diversion Canal Project. I think Mr. Larry gave us a very thorough update on that.
And there's information in your packet.
And yes, and the information is included in your packet. One thing I would like to note is that Commissioner Harrell has been appointed to the Comite River Task Force, the new Comite River Task Force. So hopefully you'll be able to attend that and keep us on track and give us some good updates. All right. Any comments on the Comite River Diversion Canal Project? All right, moving on the agenda, under new business. We have our annual engagement letter with our auditor, Diaz, Dupree, and Ruiz, LLC. And that is an action item, and we're going to need a motion. Look at your packs and any public comments in regards to our audit and our contractor who is helping us prepare our financials for our audit.
Would you say that name again a little faster?
No. Okay, can I get a motion to approve? Motion by Commissioner Harrell.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Harris. Any opposition? Okay, motion passes. Annual AUP engagement letter by auditors Diaz, Dupree, Ruiz, LLC. Ms. Tony, can you shed some light on this a little bit? about this annual AUP engagement letter?
Yeah, it's more of an in-depth type of audit that they have, that we're required to have now like we did last year. So this is just standard engagement letter.
Okay. Mr. Bankston?
It's different. It's a requirement that the state has imposed in addition to, the first item we did was the engagement to do the actual audit. This is to do certain other in-depth aspects unrelated to the actual financials. So a different engagement letter for doing services that are now required by the state.
Okay, good deal, thank you. Got a motion by Commissioner Quintmall, second by Commissioner Harrell. Any opposition? Okay, motion passes. Yet another Louisiana Audit Compliance Questionnaire. Tony, can you explain again?
Yeah, it's in your packets. It's a list of, it's a long list of saying that we did everything correctly, legally. And if you look at your package, you can see each of the questions are in there. This is something that we have to do every year. And I did send it to Mr. Bankston to review.
Yeah, Mr. Bankston, please explain.
This is also provided to the auditor and goes over agencies, and each of these questions are reviewed by the auditor. I have reviewed them. We file this each year for each individual year audit, and this becomes part of the overall audit. And most of the questions in here are not applicable to ARBC, but we do comply with that and fill it out, and I've reviewed it, and we are in compliance.
Thank you very much. I had a motion by Commissioner Quintmall, seconded by Commissioner Harrell. Any opposition to this action? Okay, hearing none, motion passes. Did we get any general comments, public comments that registered that would like to come forward? Yes, please.
Rick Weber, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, this is in reference to your resolution 1180 that you mentioned earlier. This is a resolution from the St. James Parish Council that authorizes the parish president to coordinate with OCD, ARBC, Region 9 for that project that you listed in your resolution. And what I'd like to do is request to enter this into your record with that as well.
Yep.
Just a motion to accept the resolution and have it attached to the official minutes of the board.
Okay, sounds good. Do we have a motion, Commissioner Quintmall, and seconded by Commissioner Harris? Any opposition? Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Any more public comments, questions?
Just,
Commissioner Harris.
I touched on this briefly, but just I wanted to thank OCD for the meeting yesterday. It is, after years of dealing, ever since Watershed was put together, it was so refreshing. Here's a group now that's there to get things done. And I just wanted to, and I think I speak for everybody that was there on how refreshing it was to, let's see how we can make this happen, not put obstacles and roadblocks in the way or hoops to jump through to keep something from happening. It's, was very refreshing. I thank them for their time.
The two presentations that they email it to Tony so that he brought it right.
Thank you, Commissioner Harris. I also echo that same sentiment. I've worked with OCD from different facets and the Watershed Initiative from the beginning and before, sat on 3 different steering committee meetings for different regions. And yesterday's meeting was very encouraging. It was good. So, Commissioner Quintmall.
I would also like to echo those comments because it is refreshing. And I want to thank the Secretary for her leadership and what she's done in such a very short time. Kudos to her and how she's developed that OCD and changed the mindset so quickly. So thank you to her.
Okay, any more comments? Hearing none. Those who gave presentations, is it possible that you could make those presentations available to our Executive Secretary, Ms. Tony Guitro? Okay.
On our website.
And they're on our website. All right, good deal. Well, that concludes our meeting, and so I need a motion to adjourn by Commissioner Harrell, seconded by Commissioner Quintmall. Any opposition? Hearing none, the meeting is adjourned.